Good morning again and welcome to Qdabra Forms Training. I'm Joanne and I'm a tester and forms designer at Qdabra. And also joining here with me is Yesha and will be your host for today. If you have attended the October class last year, thank you. We appreciate you for being here again. And if it's your first time to join, welcome to our class. This is a 4-day class and we run it in 2.5 hours a day. And to give you a brief forms viewer history, I would like to start off with this slide. Um, so would like to share with you what we've accomplished in the past 7 years. So to give you a quick history of this, Microsoft announced they are deprecating InfoPath January 31st, 2014. And Patrick and I were just talking about this earlier, and he vividly remembers not only the date, but the exact time that Microsoft announced that they are deprecating and no longer supporting InfoPath. And I think that really has impacted us a lot, especially those who have invested a lot in our InfoPath forms, right? But that same year, March 2014, Qdabra shipped the beta version of Forms Viewer. So even before Microsoft announced that they're no longer supporting InfoPath, Qdabra is already thinking of a long-term solution for our customers. So after that, the same year, we released 1.0. And then the succeeding years, we released the succeeding versions of Forms Viewer. We supported a lot of features in InfoPath. We supported the controls, data connections, and then by 2018, we're already supporting the Forms Viewer in on-premises. And then 2019, we've already shipped 4.1, which already contains some of the latest version that you have right now, maybe. And then May 2020, last year, we shipped 5.1, which contains a lot of features like the toggleable anonymous mode. We also support PDF generation, enhancements of UI usability. And I think the highlight for this year for us is the biggest announcement that we have just released the Forms beta, which is a Forms designer, and it's the app that's we've been developing in the past to replace InfoPath, and we just released that last month. So I'm guessing some of you have already received the newsletter about that. We have the installation kit up in our website, and we're also including the instructions on how to install the Forms beta app in day one. And then also this month, we also just shipped the 6.1 version. And you're all can see the latest features here in this training. And our plan is to release Forms beta 1.0 this summer. Okay. So welcome again to Qdabra Forms Training. We are full packed. We have 13, I'm seeing 13 in our participants list, and I'm seeing some familiar names here. We have Misty, we have Nicole, Scott, Suzanne, Tobias. Who else? Caroline, Catherine, Debbie is here. Dreyer also. Emma and Joel here. So I hope you're all able to access the training form. If you're not able to, please let us know. If you're into any issues accessing or downloading the packages, please let us know early so we can help you. Okay. So as always, the class goal is to help you retain your existing investment in your forms. Most of you have been using InfoPath for many, many years, and I'm sure you have lots of forms created that you want to continue using. If it's your first time designing your forms, this is also a good start. We have starter forms to get you familiarized on how to build your forms easily and how to use forms beta to easily add those features into your form. And also in this class, we're going to demo new patterns and techniques like we always have in the past. And we will help you by providing the step-by-step instructions using our hands-on labs. I'm guessing you've already downloaded those packages. We've got PDF files provided with detailed instructions on how you can accomplish those exercises. So let us know if when you run them, you can run them while we do the demos today, but you can also choose to run them later when you have time. And so yeah, so we're gonna help you add the latest innovations that we've just discovered with Forms Viewer, and this will hopefully help you modernize your forms. Okay, so the training staff is me. I'm Joanne. I started at Qdabra in 2008. I'm actually a tester. I've tested, when I started, I tested DBXL, and then I've tested lots of many tools with Qdabra and now Forms Viewer. And I've attended lots of training classes. Yeah, and I'm in the Philippines. And my favorite hobby is right now, because we're all at home. Since the pandemic started, I enjoy cooking Filipino dishes. And sometimes I do bird watching because there's this big mahogany tree right in front of our house. And right now, it's the breeding season of this rare bird. It's a golden yellow bird called the black-naped oriole. It's really lovely to watch because they come in pair. And so that's what I do. Like 5 to 10 minutes a day, I watch them when they come by. So yeah, I guess I can call it a hobby now. All right, so that's about me. So I'm going to introduce you to another training staff we have. So Yesha, like to
Hi
introduce yourself.
everyone. Hi John, thanks for that. So hi everyone, I'm Yesha. So I actually joined Qdabra just last year, and this is my second time joining the Forms Viewer training. I was able to join Joanne and Kirby last October Forms Viewer training. So if you actually noticed, we have a few similarities with Joanne. She's actually my sister, so I'm also from the Philippines. And for my hobbies, I really love spending time with my dog Nala and just do basic dog training like sit, lay down, and handshake and stuff like that. So, very excited for today and the upcoming days to showcase what Qdabra has for you.
Thank you. So this is her second time with the training class, but Yesha has really made a lot of progress with her InfoPath and Forms Viewer knowledge. And he developed a lot of this training forms that we'll be presenting to you. So yeah, great to have you here. And I think we'll be able to deliver this training without your help. So thank you. Thank you, Yesha. Okay. So like what we always do in the class, we do this every Forms Viewer training. We introduce ourselves first, but well, of course, we'd like to get to know you. So please introduce yourself to the class and answer this Simple questions. What is your name? Where are you on planet Earth? How many forms have you created? How long have you been using Forms Viewer? And what do you hope in getting out of this training class? So maybe we can start off with the first in the participants list in Zoom, and let's go top to bottom. I'm gonna call Caroline. Can you go first because you're early?
My name's Caroline Veman. I am in Steelville, Missouri. I've been working with InfoPath for about 15 years, and I've created dozens and dozens of forms. I've had Forms Viewer installed on-prem for about 3 or 4 years, but haven't really started using it until just this past year. We're actually now using it online, and I've been working with Mel over the last couple of months. She's rebuilding one of my very complex forms, and I'm very, very excited to deploy it. So I've really only deployed 2 Forms Viewer forms in my production environment so far. I think this is my 4th time participating in your Forms Viewer class, and I always learn something new. I'm excited to see all of the new features this week.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad to hear that, Caroline. Yeah, so I hope we'll be able to share some of the latest techniques for you. All right. So, Catherine, can you go?
Yes, so I'm Catherine Brewer, and I am in England, in the UK. I have created, I guess, 4, 5 forms. Some of them are linked together, so I don't necessarily think of them as separate. And we've been using Forms Viewer in earnest, I guess, for about 2 years now. And yeah, it's my first Forms Viewer training class because this is actually evening for me, so it's often quite difficult to get the time in. But I'm hoping to, I guess, fill in some of my gaps in my knowledge, because I've just kind of learnt it kind of ad hoc as I've needed to develop things. So this is kind of, yeah, filling in the gaps and getting more of an overview.
Okay, great to hear from you. I remember working with you in one of your list forms. So yeah, if it's evening for you, feel free to take off when you need to. We're recording this session, so the recordings are going to be available at the end of the day, so you can watch that later. All right, so thank you, Catherine. So it's called Debbie.
Hey, I'm Debbie. I am also based in England, quite south, so in a small-ish town called Southampton. I've created probably a handful of forms, I would say, and we've been using Forms Viewer now, I think, for about 4, verging on 5 years. What do I hope to get out of this session? I guess much like Catherine, I've kind of learned as I've gone along, so I'd like a much more rounded understanding of the tool and just to see, I guess, the art of the possible.
All right. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Debbie. Okay. Next is Dreyer.
Hello. Nice to meet you. My name's Alex Dreyer.
Alex. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Alex. I am in Central Illinois, United States. I've been working with, I'm actually completely new to Forms Viewer and InfoPath and the IT field in general. But I have been working closely with Misty, who's also in this call, and I've gotten a little taste of Forms Viewer and how it works. So I'm just looking forward to learning more and hopefully in the future becoming adept at it.
Well, glad to hear that. Well, if you're just starting to design your forms, and this is a good place to start. I'm not programmer, and I don't know how to code, but I've learned this stuff by just practicing how Forms Viewer works and the tools that I can incorporate to that. And yeah, so yeah, you're gonna learn a lot in this training class. Thanks for being here. Okay, Emma. Hello, Emma. Thanks for being here again.
Yeah, hello. It's a pleasure to be here. I always enjoy these courses. My name is Emma Ferry, and I am currently in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. So we are in Western Mass, bordering New York, which is where the credit union that I work for is. Also on the call is Nicole Fosser, who is my coworker, who I work with pretty closely on Forms Viewer. At this point, I've probably created, kind of on my own, maybe like, only 3 forms. We follow templates here because our brand is pretty strict. So I haven't really done anything too complicated in Forms Viewer on my own. Nicole's kind of the guru and I'm the student at this point. So
wow.
What I hope to get out of this class is a lot of the times I come into the training because first and foremost, I'm an app developer and I work quite frequently in our credit union's database. And I'm very, very interested in moving a lot of our systems and workflows that use forms into data storage in our database to make it easier for our users. So I was very excited to see we're going to be covering improvements and kind of new tricks in DBXL. So I'm very excited for this week's courses.
I see. Okay, well, good to hear that. I know you were in the October class, and if you able to try one of those techniques that we covered in the past, feel free to share them in the class and what you've experienced so far, or if you've added some of your own innovations, you can share that in the class as well. And if you have any feedback, feel
Oh yeah, more than happy to.
Let us know. All right. Yeah. Okay. So Joe. Hello, Joe. Do you have audio? Okay. Okay, let's get back to Joe later. Yes, audio. Misty.
Good morning. I am based in what they call the Quad Cities, so Bettendorf, Iowa, and it actually encompasses 4 cities right on the river, 2 on the Iowa side and 2 on the Illinois side. So we're a little bit of a different city combination here. And I've been using InfoPath for 10 years probably. I've been, we have, I think, 175 forms in Forms Viewer, and I've been using Forms Viewer for, I think, 6 years now, maybe 7. It's been a long time. And I look forward to all the new features, and I'm super excited to be using InfoPath in the web. That'll be excellent for us. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The first layer. Yeah. Thanks for being here, Misty. I know you have a lot of farms. You've developed a lot of farms.
Yeah. We're right now in the middle of, as you know, a huge migration. So I will try to be here as much as I can.
All right. Okay. Thanks for being here. And yeah, Nicole. Hello, Nicole.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as Emma mentioned, I work with her and we live in the same area, Berkshire County, Massachusetts. For InfoPath, we've been on InfoPath probably since 2016. We have a couple hundred forms. Right now, we are actually going through a huge migration to SharePoint 2019. So we've been converting the InfoPath forms into Forms Viewer since probably only September. But since then, we've created about 20 forms, including dashboards. And we've used most of the techniques that you offer in the rules in all of our forms. But as Emma mentioned, we're really interested in getting some of the larger ones into DBXL. But due to the migration, it's been kind of slow. We've been just trying to get the forms into Forms Viewer first. So we're really interested in that and some of the other techniques that you're going to show this week.
Wow, good to hear you're using DVXL. We have a topic about DVXL probably in day 2, the DVXL XTP. And yeah, but for more like broader topics for DVXL, I guess we can do a separate training for that. Maybe we'll request Patrick to run another training sessions for DVXL alone. Yeah, but yeah, we've been injecting DVXL topics from time to time along with Forms Viewer. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for being here. Did I skip some? Oh, okay. Scott Fraser.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Scott. I live in the town of Kittery on the coast of the state of Maine in the United States. I work at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard where we overhaul Los Angeles class and Virginia class attack submarines. And I've been using InfoPath for about 6 years now, where, I mean, it's the go-to development tool for developing applications in a rapid environment. We've got well over 100 applications developed. We have not yet purchased Forms Viewer. However, it's in the budget for this year. And I hope the class will help me start to bridge the gap to make the transition from InfoPath to Forms Viewer. Happy to know that there's a product that we can transition to without requiring a conversion. And excited to see your Forms Designer product.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful to hear that. Okay, Suzanne, welcome.
Hello, my name is Suzanne King. I'm in Houston, Texas, and we've been using InfoPath for a long time, and we've got hundreds of forms that are created. We have not purchased Forms Viewer as of yet. Hopefully, that will get resolved soon, and just looking forward to just like what Scott said, like bridging the gap and seeing everything in a more in-depth view. So that's me.
Yeah, well, great to hear that. I remember sending you some on-prem, our on-prem version. So yeah, I hope you get to see some of the latest features in the class and know what Forms Viewer can do. Yeah. So last is Tobias.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tobias Cropper. I'm coming from Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. I am actually fairly new to this as well. I believe Alex said he's fairly new, so good to know I'm not the only one. I have been working with Patrick and Don Frack for the past week, I believe, working on a new service request system, and gotten a little bit of experience in Forms Viewer, but I'm looking to learn a few new tips and tricks and get fairly familiar with Forms Viewer and find out new ways to create more dynamic and user-friendly forms, whether it is another service request system or anything else.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, if you're just starting to use Forms Viewer, we're gonna show you how you can install them. Yeah, install them from the start, and also jumpstart your forms with Forms Beta. So we're gonna show you how to install Forms Beta in your SharePoint sites. Okay, so did I miss anyone in the list? Please let me know. Joe, okay. Hello, Joe, can you hear me? Okay, maybe you're still fixing your audio. So, all right, but glad you're here. I remember working with one of your forms like 2 years ago. Okay, so yeah. So thank you all for being here. Okay. So, oh yeah. So in this training class, you're gonna learn maybe not the newest feature, but the most requested feature. So we've selected carefully all of the innovations, the latest techniques that we have, and what you're gonna learn in this class is those features that are most requested. So we're gonna show you the validation feature, how to make your forms responsive in the browser, add CSS and styling, modernize your forms, stuff like that. We're gonna also revisit the task pane for those of you who haven't tried that yet, how you can instantly add a task pane like in a dashboard that can it can be toggled like hide and show or slide like flexible section on the left side of your forms. You can add menus and that. So debug slider, we've also developed that technique where you can display the curls history on the slider at the bottom of your form. And maybe some of you have already seen that in action. I know Misty, in Misty's forms, you've got the slider, but you're using the approval history in your sliders. So you can use that in many ways. We're also showing you how to add overlays. Glass signature, it's not new, but a lot of our customers have requested how they can add a glass signature pad in their forms, and it's now possible. It's actually available even before, but now that we have Forms Viewer, just discovered how it can be beautified. It's really nice when you see that glass signature technique in the browser. And we're going to show you that in day one. Yeah. I mean the glass signature, how it works, but I think we're going to tackle the lab for that in day 2. Okay, sorry about that. Then there's improvement for form security. We'll teach you how to add the Auth XTP to add 2-factor authentication to your forms. I think you've already seen that when you try to access the training form using Auth. And we're gonna show you how to add techniques by opening links using buttons. Previously, this is not supported in Forms Viewer, but because of some custom commands that are now supported in Forms Viewer, it's now possible. And then there's also hamburger maneuver, tackling that in day 4, and performance tuning. But I think the highlight of this training, I would say, is Forms Beta. So that's my next slide. So for this training, I'm really happy that we're introducing you to Forms Designer. So it's the replacement for InfoPath that we've been really working hard, and we've been developing this for so long now. And we're so happy to announce that it's available now for download. It's up in our website. And for those of you who received the newsletter, you have that installation kit link, and you can just click that and follow the instructions. We're also including that instruction as a lab for day 1. So you're going to learn how to start your forms, like design using the basic functionality in Forms Designer. I'm going to show you that later. Okay, so I would say this is the highlight of this training class, and we're going to show you how you can easily inject XTPs using the Forms Designer. Okay, so what can you do with Forms Designer? So this is the currently supported features. You can launch Designer from the Forms Beta app and save the changes to the templates, basic changes with a single click without the need to download or upload your form. And you can add controls. So the supported controls are in this slide. We have text boxes, drop downs, check boxes, and so on. So those are already supported, and we support really basic stuff like edit text formatting. Like we're trying to mimic what InfoPath can do. So we started off by mimicking those basic features first. So control properties are also live in action there. And I think that my favorite part is how I can now add fields and groups using Forms Designer. I can also add and edit rows and fields, and I can add the XTP. Right now, the only built-in XTP in the Forms Designer app is the Dynamic Data Connections XTP. So in this training for this day in Lab 2, we're going to show you how you can easily inject the dynamic XTP using the Forms Beta app. All right, so training requirements. Of course, you need to have the Forms Viewer app installed, whether you're on SharePoint 365 or on-prem. If you don't have it installed yet, I'm going to show you how to install that. Also, you need to install the Forms Beta app. But right now, we're only supporting SharePoint Online. We're going to support on-prem soon. So if you're on-prem and you want to try out the Forms Beta app, let us know. Maybe we can get you that release soon. And then site collection admin permission for the SharePoint site, because you need to get the access for the manage templates link. So that's one requirement. And also Zoom access via PC or mobile first, and then access forms using our course directory. So we provided you the external link for our course training form. You can authenticate using Authy or via text message. So if you haven't downloaded the package yet, let us know. Is everyone able to register in the training form? Please feel free to chat if you haven't. And if you're having any issues accessing the training form, let us know in chat. Okay, so I guess everyone is able to access and download the packages. All right, it's good to know. So, okay. Zoom is not doing real good. Okay, so my next slide is about this what's new list that displays the first time you open the form. This is what's going to display. It's a list of all the latest features. So the first in the list is the Forms Beta. Forms Beta app is now live. And the rest of the list is either a new feature in Forms Viewer 6.1 or a fix that we made. Yeah, so feel free to click the clip or the clip button. That button will direct you to a short animation about where to find the feature and how the feature currently works in Forms Viewer. So I'd like to give you a moment, take some time to preview those features and let us know which feature you like best, or which feature you think is going to help you in your form solution. So we're going to take like a 5 to 10 minutes break, if that's okay, to give you some time to view all the clips. All right, so we'll be here. Thank you. Okay, we're back. Okay. Catherine just chatted that she was having problems with accessing the form. I hope, Catherine, you were able to download the packages now.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, I hope that time is enough for you to see all the clips that we've prepared to show you the latest features and where you can find them in Forms Viewer. So I guess to summarize it, maybe I can share some of my favorites. Okay, so Misty just said she viewed all the clips. It's fun. Okay, thank you for that comment. So I think my favorite is the Forms Designer Beta. And I'm not going to preview that because I'm going to demo that later. Submit to SharePoint list is also one of my favorite because we're now supporting attachments. So previously the mappings, if you're familiar with the SharePoint list mapping tab in Forms Viewer, the attachments column is not supported, but now we are supporting that. So you can now submit attachments to the SharePoint lists using Forms Viewer. And Yesha is going to demo that later. And then I guess we can look into this. So let's see this feature, client-side or server-side queries. Let's see the clip. Okay. Well, it's just really fun. So let me just click that again. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you that area where the checkbox is. So in the upload template page of Forms Viewer, where you upload a template, we now have this checkbox called Use Client-Side Queries. And to know more about what this feature can do, you can click the little question mark icon, the blue question mark icon there, and it will direct you to a page that describes the feature. And I think what I like about this feature is that I can turn off, enable or turn off the client-side queries. So if it's checked, that means all of your SharePoint queries will run directly from your browser to your SharePoint site. So that will happen when that checkbox is ticked. But if you unselected that, so if that is disabled, that means you're doing server-side queries and you're telling Forms Viewer to do the queries for you. So you're throwing the queries to the Forms Viewer server, and then the Forms Viewer server will query, run the queries to your SharePoint site. And most of the time, for most cases, we recommend the server-side queries because with the server-side queries, it can bypass the cookie blocks. Like most browsers now have this. Let me show you. Okay, let's just click. So in Chrome, we have this block third-party cookies, right? And when I go to the settings, privacy and security cookies, and if your site or if your browser is blocking third-party cookies and your client server or client queries is checked, client-side queries checkbox is checked, it's not going to work. So the queries is not going to work because the browser is requiring third-party cookies in order for your forms to query SharePoint data. But with the server-side queries, even if the third-party cookies are blocked, Forms Viewer can bypass that blocking. So yeah, so I think that's my favorite feature. But you can learn more about how to use that feature, but by, like I said, clicking on the documentation page. And I'm not sorry. I'm not in the correct forms viewer. So this is forms beta. Here. Right. Okay. So yeah, so let's go back to the course form. And it's asking me to log in. Oh. Okay. So some of you have said that, I think Suzanne have said in chat that she was not able to close the overlays. Was it Suzanne or someone else? Let me just review the chat here. Okay, I'm not seeing it anymore, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong, but okay, so it's toggling for me. So let me know if it's not closing for you and you're not seeing this cards view. So yeah. So when you close that overlay, you're going to see this all of the day topics in a card type style. This is actually an info path form, and we're just displaying the sections using CSS. And you see we have a really nice background here. We don't have that in the previous training, and we change the theme a little bit to dark mode. So I hope you like it. Anyway, so this is the day one topics. Our topic is key steps to using Qdabra forms. So this is the selected topics that I think are key to jumpstart your forms with Forms Viewer and Forms Beta. So for lab one, we're going to tackle how to use the forms, how to install Forms Viewer and how to install the Forms Beta app. So I'm gonna just click this button. So if it's your first time trying out this form, if you click one of the buttons, it will display a section for you. Okay, and it's because my internet is slow right now. Let me just refresh it. Okay. Yasha, can you still hear me?
Yep. I can still hear you.
Probably my internet. I'm sorry about that. It's taking so long, but maybe if I disconnect, maybe I'll be taken out of Zoom. Yasha, just to make sure, I'll make you host.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Sorry about that, but if you click the button, it's going to display a section for you describing the lab title, the description, what, how it can benefit you, and of course a download link. Okay, and maybe you're able to, but I'm not sure why. Okay. Anyway, Yesha, is it working for you? Just to make sure.
Yes, I
Maybe
did
it's
try it
my...
now. It is working fine for me.
Okay, so maybe it was my connection. Anyway, so I'm glad you're still hearing me. So just going back to my slide here. So that's a brief explanation of our course form. Okay. Let's try it again a few seconds. Okay. So let's proceed to lab 1. So lab 1 is introduction to Qdabra forms. So we're now rebranding to Qdabra forms because we just released Forms Designer. So Qdabra forms now refers to both Forms Viewer and Forms Designer. And our goal is to help you learn how to use the latest techniques that we just released in Forms Viewer 6.1. And of course, help you get familiarized with the new Forms Designer app and how you can do some basic designs using the app. And what you'll learn how to install Forms Viewer. So if it's your first time with Forms Viewer, I'm going to show you how to install that. And then how to install Forms Beta app, because the Forms Beta app is a limited release. So we have this separate app for that. Okay, and a brief tour and demo of Forms Designer. So let's now proceed with our demo. Okay, yeah, so it's my connection. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna go to a brand new training site. It's not going. This one. Sorry if we make some mistakes here. We're trying to make it perfect for you, but well, anyway. So if you don't have Forms Viewer yet, so it's an app that's going to display here, but if you don't have it yet, so click app, inside contents, create a new app, and let's go to SharePoint Store. Let me just show you that it's available in SharePoint Store. So type in Forms Viewer. Okay, and click on that and click Add It. So if you're in SharePoint Online, you can easily add it by just going to the SharePoint Store and adding it. So right now, I already have it in my tenant. So we go back and search for Forms Viewer. Okay, let's search for that. So for the sake of those who doesn't have Forms Viewer yet, so let's trust it. While it's gonna install, so it's still grayed out right now because it's still installing, but it's gonna take like a few seconds or depending on how fast your connection is. Yeah. So anyway, if it's ready, once it's ready in your Forms Viewer or site, you're going to have this Forms Viewer app, right? And when you click on that, it's going to take you to the Forms Viewer landing page, and you're going to see all of these links, the Manage Templates links. This is the most important one because this is how we access all the templates that we upload. So if you're not seeing these links, maybe you're not a site collection admin in the site where you install Forms Viewer. So make sure that you are a site collection admin because that's important. That's one of the requirements for accessing this template. So of course, it's just for an admin permission. For a regular user, they don't necessarily have to be site collection admins. They can open their forms, right? But for those, for your form designer or for users who like to upload templates, manage templates, so you need to give them site collection admin permissions to the site. All right, so that's Forms Viewer. And in the package for Lab 1, we just go into that folder and show you the installation guide for the Forms Viewer app. We have it here. So just open this document and it will guide you on how to install Forms Viewer. So it's very easy. Okay, so let me just close that. And the other file in the package is this Forms Beta app.zip. So this is the latest one. So in the zip file, you're going to get the Forms Beta. So this is the app file. And then this is the installation guide. For the installation guide, it requires having a site admin access. I think global admins access because you need to have access to the app catalog page. So let me show you how we can get to that. So if you are an admin in your SharePoint Online tenant, you click on admin. Okay, then I'll show all, SharePoint, and more features. And then find apps and then click open. And then click app catalog. And then apps for SharePoint. Okay, so this is the page where you're going to upload the file, the .app file. Right now, I don't have that enabled for me, but it's already here in our app catalog. We've already uploaded the Forms Beta app, so it's available here in our tenant. So if it's your first time installing Forms Beta, you need to ask your site admin to upload the app for you in your app catalog page. Okay, so once it's available, let me just go back to my site here. It's refresh, and by now Forms Viewer is finished installing. Okay, so let's now add the Forms Beta app. For those of you who are wondering why the Forms Beta is a separate app, this Forms Viewer, well, it's because it's a limited release only, and so we're letting our customers to try it. If you'd like to try the Forms Designer or replacement for InfoPath, you can add Forms Beta to your sites and yeah, try it out. So still great there. Okay, so while it's installing, let me just go back to the package and open Forms Beta. It's already open there. Okay, so just did that. Just scrolling down here. By the way, let me know if I'm going fast. If you have any questions. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I guess that's about it for the Forms beta installation. That's how easy it is. You can install Forms beta. So it's now here in my site content. I'll click on it. Click Manage Templates. And of course, because it's a brand new instance, I don't have any templates yet. So I'm going to upload a template. Let's go to the package. And okay, so this is part of lab 1. So we're going to use the Forms Designer Basics start.xsn, and then we're going to drag it here, upload. All right, so template is now uploaded. So how you can access Forms Designer using the Forms Beta app. So to access the Forms Designer, you need to click this design button at the rightmost. This is the design legacy, the button, the old or previous button that uses the command builder tabs, the SharePoint list mapping tabs. So you're gonna, you can access that here. But if you want to see the designer, click this design button. Yeah, so it's this. It is this app here. So you see that my form template is displayed in the form canvas here, and I've got the template name at the top. I've got this toolbar for editing basic like formatting text, things like that. I've got the drop down here for switching views, and I've got controls. So these are the currently supported controls, and add the basic, the most commonly used controls: text box, drop down list, checkbox, yeah. So you can add that. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then add XTP. So right now, the only built-in XTP in Forms Designer is Dynamic Data Connections XTP. So the plan is to add more. So we're hoping to inject some of our XTPs in the next versions. Okay, so also I have the data fields task pane here. So trying to mimic what InfoPath has, right? So InfoPath has the data fields task pane where you can switch between your main data source and your secondary data sources. And as you can see, I can switch to my Qdabra rules here. I can select fields. Also have it another config there. And so this is looks like a blank task pane, right? But it will show something when you click a field in your form. Like for example, click on a control and it's going to show you the rules button here where you can add rules. Yeah, so I'm going to show you that in a minute. And save button is up here. And then this one is a toggle for opening the forms. Opening the forms non-anonymously and anonymously. And then the download button is also here, and the About Forms Designer. So every time you have changes in your form, you don't have to download it and then re-upload it to the upload template page. You don't need to do that. You just save changes and then open here. And then the form will go live when it's linked to your form libraries and other pages where you have the form links. Right. So, hold on a second. I have a question here from Suzanne. How do you add a data source? So adding data source is still not supported in Forms beta. But we're looking to complete all the functionalities, like what you can do in InfoPath. You can also do this. You can also do it in Forms Designer. So we're looking to implement those functionalities in the future version. So yeah, thank you for that question. In the document that we provided, we've listed all the features that are currently supported in InfoPath. So if the feature, if you're wondering if a feature is already here, just check the list if it's not there. So maybe we're still working on that. All right. So let me open this Forms Designer Basics documentation. So as part of Lab 1 is you're gonna run the steps on how to add controls to your form. So this documentation has this designer practice. So I'm going to show you how to apply the steps. So just follow along if you have the Forms Beta app already installed. So I've just uploaded the Forms Designer Basic Start, right? The template, and I click Design. So it's now showing the canvas. So right now the default view is practice. So we're just practicing how to add the controls in our form right now. So in the form, I've added some placeholders like calculated fields to serve as a guidance text for you, or on what field you're gonna add and where exactly you're gonna add that. So it says here, add a text box below and bind it to the first name field. So I'm gonna put my cursor here. I'm gonna select text box and click plus button. So as you can see, the data fields task pane is being highlighted now. And this means that Forms Viewer is asking you to bind that control to a field in your data source. So let me select first name here and then click done. So I have my text box here. I'm just gonna delete the extra spaces. So I'm gonna put my cursor here for last name and do the same. So those extra spaces that get added, we're still looking into that, why they get added, but there's a workaround. You just can click backspace if they get added. All right, so just continue here. So I'm now in the country code field. So it says here a drop-down list. So I'm going to select drop-down. And I'm going to expand my phone details, grab country code, okay, add. And for the drop-down list, I'm going to click on that. And right here, when you click on that, it's going to display the control properties for you. So with InfoPath, for those who've been using InfoPath, you would click the drop-down control, right-click, and click properties, right? And then in the properties, I have drop-down here, right? Yeah. So in the drop-down list box properties, this is where you're gonna add the choices manually. So in Forms Designer, you can add them here by just using this task pane. So click Edit Choices. So let's say I want the first item to be, this is country code, right? So So that's my display name, and this is the value that I want. If add, display name is different, right? It's just the display, and then the value is the actual data that you want to get saved, whether in your form library or your SQL. Okay, so it's already there. Okay. Phone number, text box. So let's find the number field and bind that. And then this is the address field. And this one is the checkbox. By the way, this is the patient consent form that I'm working on. So yeah, so okay, add checkbox. Oh, okay, checkbox here. And button. So last one is button. And then I'm going to edit the label. Okay. And that's it. I'm going to save this. And let's try. Open it in the browser, see how it looks. All right. Okay. So as you can see, the form loads with the fields, right? First name, last name, country code with our choices there, phone number, address, our checkbox, and our sign this form button is displaying correctly. And it's actually beautiful. It's nice looking because of the CSS working in the background for us. But in reality, you know, it's not always like this because you need to prepare your CSS first before your forms can look good like this. So let me show you how it really looks bare. Just like this because Zoom is getting in the way. I can't click the slider. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click this button to unload the CSS that we applied in the form, and you're going to see the bare type. Yeah, so this is how it looks without the CSS, but you see there's a text box there, right? Gonna load the CSS and it's running the CSS code for us there. Yeah, so this CSS techniques will come into play when we discuss responsive forms in this training. So yeah, it's nice to show this to you in day one. So if you have any feedback or questions about this steps that I just showed you, let me know. Feel free to add your questions in chat. So I'm browsing here to the next lab. Okay, no questions. All right, so just going back to my slide here. Okay, so let's now move on to lab 2. Now you've seen how Forms Designer works in the browser. Now I'm going to show you how to use one of the built-in XTPs in Forms Designer. So Dynamic Data Connections XTP is a template part that we've designed in the past. We actually ask users to inject them and add the rules in info path, but right now that it's it's built in with the Forms Designer, we can now show you how you can easily apply it in Forms Designer. So I'm really excited. So what you'll learn is how to add a dynamic XTP in one click, edit rules. Of course, you need to tweak it a little bit to point to your data connections. And you're going to see in the end how your data connections change URLs on the fly when the form loads. So let's do lab 2. Okay, I'm still in the Forms beta app. So you'll quickly notice Forms viewer or the difference between them if you see check the URL. So if it's qfs.formsco.com, it's Forms URL. Well, Forms viewer, the prod version, but if it's beta.formsco.com, you're in Forms beta. So just want to share that. Okay, so I'm now in the Lab 2 folder, the package. So when you download Lab 2, you're gonna get the PDF documentation. And okay, so the prerequisites for this is for you to create the form library. So because right now we're using the patient consent form, we're providing that sample form for you to try it out in your Forms beta app. But if you're trying the Forms beta app and you want to apply the dynamic XTP in your own form template, then feel free to rename the form library. You can create a different library depending on the need for your form solution. So right now, I created a patient consent form library. Okay, let me just go back to my site here. Yeah, so this is the form library that I created for submitting my forms. Actually, Yesha created this. Okay. So let me go back to Forms beta. Now let me just quickly show you that the date connection for the starter form, for example, for my SharePoint library submit, you see that it's pointing to this site. It's a different site. It's showing here 1020. So that means that it's a site that we previously used for our October training. And right now I want this form to point to this new site that we've installed Forms Viewer, which is 2104. Okay, so still in Forms beta, I'm going to click Manage Templates. And oh, it's already there. I was practicing earlier, but I'm going to start from scratch again. So I'm gonna drag the starter form in my form template. And I'm gonna click Design. Okay, so to add the Dynamics Data Connection XTP, you're gonna select that in this dropdown. So select Dynamic Data Connections. And then for those who are familiar or who've run our XTP instructions in the past, maybe you've noticed that the instructions get added in the same view where you clicked. Let me just demonstrate that to you. Well, for the sake of those who haven't tried adding template forms in InfoPath, so it's a custom control. So you add the template part by clicking add and following the wizard. And then once it's added, you click it here because it's now available under custom controls. So For example, this is the dynamic data connections XTP, and when I click that, it's going to come with a secondary data source with pre-configured rules, and it also comes with some instructions that you can follow on how to apply the template part. So what I'm saying is the instruction gets added in the view itself. So it interrupts your form design. So maybe you just accidentally clicked it and place your cursor somewhere in your form, and then it just get added there. And just later on, you just need to delete the instruction because you don't need that anyway. So yeah, so just wanted to let you know the difference. So with Forms Designer, you can click this XTP instructions here. So the instructions doesn't get added in your view. So it has a dedicated section. So we've added a section for that, so you can view the instructions separately, and it's not added in your view. And so you can just toggle by closing and clicking the documentation here. Oh, I haven't added it. So select it and then click plus button to inject it. So XTP successfully applied. You can click OK. So once it's applied, you're gonna see the data connections here, right? So, so I'm gonna follow along. The instruction says inject Q rules, but the form already has Q rules. So I'm gonna skip that. And then the next step is to add rules in finish loading. So I'm gonna select Qdabra rules, finish loading. And I'm gonna click rules. I'm gonna add a rule here. So plus button and then run. Okay. And then we're gonna set, I'm sorry, I just selected set the fields value for my action. Then I'm gonna select the selector, field selector, and I'm gonna choose the XTP logic, expand actions, and select the run on load field. And then we're gonna set that field to go. So why are we doing that? Because in that field is a bunch of rules, and we're telling it to run when the form loads. So it's already pre-configured here. So you don't need to change anything in this, the rules in this field, all right? So that's step 2. And then it says here for step 3, modify the rule name set Q rules edit. So let's find that. So it's under Q rules temp command. The XPath is here, by the way, temp command rules. So set Q rules edit. So it says on the first action of the first rule, yeah. So let's change the stop field and point it to the command field of Q rules. And then for our second action, let's change the value to point to our the correct result node. So this is just a placeholder tag. So it's telling you to point it to the right Qdabra rules result node. So for that, I'm going to grab the correct XPath from my document here. So just scrolling down where we're at. This step, we just finished that. Oops, well, long because of all the screenshots. Yeah, so this is the result XPath. So I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna put that here without codes because I'm entering an XPath there. And then in this, for value success, we're gonna do the same. I'm gonna copy the success XPath. And here, result. Oh, sorry, error node. And then let's click done. And then let's go to our change connection field, click rules. So I'm gonna enable 2. So this is where you choose which data connections you want to change dynamically. So I'm going to choose submit to library data connection, and then the get user profile by name for demo purposes. But you can also enable the other options there. Okay, click done. And then for my submit library, I'm going to edit the first rule here and then change this placeholder text to the actual submit to library data connection name. So I can look into my info platform. You see that this is my data connection name. So I'm going to use that because I'm going to tell QRules to use this data connection name. Right there. Oh, okay, so invalid expat because I didn't put codes. So you need to put codes if you're just entering static text. And library name, I'm gonna use this library name, patient consent form library. Okay, and then click done and save. Okay, go back to the documentation. Yeah, so that's about it. Wait, well, let's open the form and see it in action. Okay. Querying. Didn't have this connection problem when I practiced earlier, but let's open it. Yeah, so it's my, because of my internet. Yasha, can you hear me? Would you like to access this link and show the end form, how it works? Okay. Because I need to troubleshoot why it's not loading for me.
Okay.
Okay, so you have the link, or?
Can you send the link to me?
Okay, I'll stop sharing. I'm gonna send the link to you. And feel free to share out your form when you're ready.
So let me just share my screen here. So this is a link that Joanne just provided me, and now I'm opening it from the Forms Designer. Now let's click this drop down and click open, and hopefully it loads correctly. There we go. So
yeah, that's fine.
So John, you wanna?
Yeah, you can just show them that the change submit URL connection is working. It's showing success. As you can see, the command runs successfully and the URL is changed there. Previously in our info platform, it's showing, oops, just stay there. It's showing 1020, the 1020 site, but now it's showing 2104. So that means the form is changing the URLs on the fly. So it's recognizing where your form template, which side your form template is open. So it's really a great tool for when you're migrating forms. For example, you're migrating from on-prem to SharePoint Online, or vice versa, or maybe you are just simply migrating your forms to different environments, like from QA to beta or prod. And yeah, so that's how you can instantly change your data connections automatically. You don't need to go through them one by one in InfoPath because it's a really tedious process. You know, just following the wizard and reporting the data connection. Wow, that's a lot of work. So we've developed this tool for you so you can easily migrate your forms with minimal effort. Yeah, so thank you, Yasha, for doing this. Yeah, it's actually 1:41 a.m. our time here in the Philippines. So I was really hoping that my internet would be fast at this time, but unfortunately not. Um, so, okay, so that's the end of lab 2. And let me share out, Yesha.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Okay, all right. Let me just go back to the slides. Okay, so that's the end of lab 2. So does anyone have any questions before we take a break? Okay, so feel free to run the labs when you have time, and let us know if you run into the issues. We're here to help. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to take a break, have some coffee, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Hello, everyone. So we're back. So, Yasha, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So just continuing with my slides here. So for lab 3 and 4, it's going to be Yasha who's demoing this. So Yasha, let me know anytime you're ready.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joanne, for those demos earlier. So for lab 3, we are going to discuss the Get User Profile XTP. So which actually uses the Get User Profile by Name command. So this offers us a way to retrieve SharePoint user profile data and display them in a form. So this is very efficient to add to your forms since you don't have to fill up the fields regarding your own profile details. And the Get User Profile by Name command can instantly retrieve that for you. So um, let me go and share my screen. Right, here we go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, so this is the end form, and let me just quickly open this in Forms Viewer. So once we open the form, as you can see, it instantly filled up my full name, my email address, and even the name of my manager. And as you can see, also it displays my profile picture, which is uploaded in our SharePoint site information. So let's go ahead and try to achieve this by using the Get User XTP. So let's go and open our starter form, which is actually included in the package. So let's go ahead and open our starter form. So the first thing that we are going to do is to add the Get User XTP. How are we going to add an XTP? This was actually shown by Joanne earlier, wherein you go to the Home tab and click the expand of the controls. So let's try to add a custom control. Once you've clicked that, let's click add and then choose the template part option. Let's click next and then let's browse through the package that we provided to you, since that includes the Get User XTP. So I have here my package, and it actually shows me the Get User XTP. So let's try to open that and click Finish and click Close and then click OK. So if we expand the controls once more, again, you will see the Get User XTP added to our custom controls. So let's go ahead and add this to our form, our starter form. And let's place our cursor at the end of our execution history here and expand the controls once more and click the Get User. As you can see, it instantly displayed here the instructions to use that XTP. Also, if you check the data fields, it actually added 2 secondary data sources, which is the XTP logic, Get User, and the Get User Profile by Name secondary data source. So before we add the rules to use this XTP to your form, or to implement this XTP to your form, I want to quickly show you a few rules included in this XTP so that you will be able to understand what is behind this XTP. So let's go to the XTP logic, Get User Secondary Data Source. So this actually includes the preconditioned rules for getting the user site information list from SharePoint. So let's expand the actions and then let's click the download field. In here, you will see numerous rules, but let's focus on the set current user info. In the set current user info, look at the first rule. This is actually setting the Get User Profile by Name. So this Get User Profile by Name includes the command for the Get User Profile by Name, and we are setting that with a username. So this is actually getting the user's information, the current user's information. So that's what this rule is actually doing. And then for the remaining rules, this is us trying to get that data, the data of that current user. So we can actually get the full name, the email, the manager, the department of that current user. And if we actually go to the next rule, set manager info, this is optional if you want to get the information of your manager. So if you check the first rule, as you can see, it's trying to get the user information list of our manager. The manager value is actually set here in our set current user info. So those two are connected. So we are trying to get the information of our manager now. So this rule is actually getting the full name, the email, the department, and that manager's manager. Okay, so that's just a quick explanation on how the Get User Profile by Name command is being used by the Get User XTP. And you actually might be wondering, what other data can we include or can we retrieve from SharePoint? You can actually see that by going to the Get User Profile by Name secondary data source. Once you go to this data field, you expand the data fields until you reach the repeating table called property data. So this property data, you just drag and drop this to your form, and you will actually see those fields that are those data that are included for that user, for the current user. So I've actually done that to a sample form. Let me quickly show you what the property data table looks like when you open it up into your form. So this is actually trying to retrieve the current user's information, which is actually me. So it's actually trying to get my email, my first name, am I a site admin, my last name, and so on and so forth, which is information in my SharePoint user information list. So let's actually try to get, let's try to add my picture to our starter form. So as you can see here, it can retrieve the value of my picture. And let's try to add this into our set current user info rule. So how are we going to add that? Let's click add and set a fields value. Now, let's just select from our main data source, we have here a picture field. And for us to retrieve that value, let's click the FX button and then insert field or group. From there, we are going to select the Get User Profile by Name. And then let's expand until you reach the value field. And then we are actually going to filter that data. Tell me if I'm going too fast, I can move slowly. So we're going to filter that data and click add. And then let's filter out, let's select the filter group and then select the name. So we actually want to get the value of the picture. So let's type picture, click OK, OK, OK. As you can see, I'm trying to get the value of my picture information, which we actually see here in the property data. I'm trying to get this value, which is the name is equivalent to the picture. So once we've added that rule, let's click OK. And then let's just quickly move this upward before the success rule. So there we go. We've now added the picture data in our field. let's go ahead and try to bind our profile data, our profile field. So we have here already a control for the picture, which is already correctly binded in our profile picture field. So here in our full name, we actually want this to display the full name of the current user. So let's rebind this and let's right click and change the binding, and let's go to XTP logic get user. So we want to get the full name of our current user. And then let's bind the email address because we want to get the email address of our current user. Let's click email. And then for the manager name, we want the full name of the current user's manager. So again, let's go to XTP logic, get user secondary data source. Let's expand the current user. And then in the manager info, there's a full name there, which is the full name of your manager. So there we go. We've binded all of the profile fields of our sample form. The next thing that we need to do is to run the get user XTP, which is actually included here in the usage part. So let's quickly go through that. So first thing to do is to inject queue rules, which we actually already have. Next thing is to add a rule in your Qdabra rules finish loading to run the get user XTP. To do that, let's go to our Qdabra rules as stated there and go to the finish loading field, and then let's add a new action, and let's rename this, let's name this to run get user. Okay, once that's done, let's add an action here, and then let's go to the secondary data source XTP logic get user, which actually has the field onload, which we want to run. And then for the value, let's just say go for it to run. After adding that rule, let's modify the rule name set to rules fields, which was actually demoed earlier by Joanne. Since our XTP already has preconditioned, predefined rules, let's just set the command rules to that XTP. So to do that, you go to the XTP logic get user, you go to qrules temp, and then under the temp command field, we will see here the set qrules fields. And then in that rule, go to the bottom and you see here the run these actions. And then let's just change the stop value to and redirect this to the Qdabra rules command, and then click OK. And then for the temp result, it's as stated here, your Qdabra rules result node should be here. So let's click the FX node and then click insert field or group. And then again, let's go back to Qdabra rules. And we are going to select the result field. Click OK and click OK. So there we go. That's how easy it is for you to use the get user XTP. You don't need to manually add the get user profile by name command and just use this XTP. So let's try and save this. And let's just rename this to demo. Okay, now that I've saved that, let's go ahead and go to our forms viewer and let me upload this to a new template. Here we go. We have here the demo and then upload. And then let's open the form and hopefully it loads my information. There we go. It opened my my picture, my full name, my email address, and even my manager's name. So if Joanne tries to open the form, it will show her details because it is trying to get the current user's information. So that's it for our Get User XTP Lab 3. Do you have any questions for this? Does anyone have questions? Feel free to speak out.
Yasha, that's a wonderful demo. Thanks for showing that. Just would like to add that in the previous training, what we're showing is to add the command manually, right? This is the same lab that you've worked on in the past, and we were doing it manually. But this time, the difference is we're now using this XTP.
Yes, that is correct. So if you were able to join us in our October's training, we did discuss the Get User Profile by Name command, and we did it manually. So we tried to add the Get User Profile by Name command manually to the form. And now for this training, we've developed an XTP called Get User, which would be easier for you to use. You don't have to add manually the rules, just add the XTP and just try to connect the fields to that XTP.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And I think the plan is to add the XTP in the next version of Forms Beta. So yeah, hopefully we can add the XTP using the designer.
Yes, that is very exciting for us to see that in Forms Beta.
All right. Okay. Thanks. I'm not seeing any questions in the chats list, but when do you expect that to be released? The next version, I think Patrick mentioned to me that the plan is to release 1.0 for Forms Beta this summer. So you're going to see a lot more feature with the designer this year. So we'll let you know if, like I said, if you are in SharePoint Online, it's readily available in the app that we provided. But if you're a Forms viewer using on-prem, let us know, and we'll let you know when it's going to be available for you. All right, so if you're ready, Yesha, for Lab 4, Lab 4 is about submitting attachments to SharePoint lists. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So let me go and share once more my screen. Okay. All right, let me know if you see it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So for our Lab 4, we are going to discuss the Submit Data SharePoint list. So we are going to teach you how to map your forms data to submit to SharePoint list columns using the built-in SharePoint list mapping in Forms Viewer. And we've also just added the ability to submit attachments to this. So we will walk through that in detail today. So I'm going to start off by showing you the end form of this lab. So let me go to our end form here. Let me just quickly close the forms. Okay, great. So here we go. Let's open the form. And this is our sample patient consent form. And let me also show you our sample list, which we named. Let me go to here. Okay, here it is. The medical file attachments. So this is our list, and we are going to submit data from this form to this list, also including the attachments. So let me quickly show you that and input a few details here. And just type in sample data And then let's attach here a file. So I have here a sample medical file. Click OK. We can add another attachment. So let's go ahead and add another sample medical file, 1 and 2. All right, so let's click Allow and quickly assign this form. Capture. That is actually our glass signature feature, which we will be discussing and showing you tomorrow. Okay, so let's try and submit this. And in our attachment, in our list, it's actually empty. So once we've submitted that, and as you can see here, it instantly showed us the data that we just submitted. So it's actually showing two data because we have two attachments, because this is for medical file attachments. And if we try to double click our SharePoint list and we scroll down and look for the attachments, we can actually click this attachment and it will show you the PDF or whatever attachment you added in the attachment control. So as you can see here, this is showing a sample patient medical record. So let's try and achieve this by working on our starter form, which is actually included again in your package, which you can get from our course directory. Open the lab 4 and download it here. Okay, so let me open our starter form for lab 4. All right, and let me quickly open the PDF. So the first thing that we are going to do is add a SharePoint list. So I'm going to show you how to add a SharePoint list, and I'll be doing that in our demo site. The same list, but we're doing it in a different site. Okay, so to add a list, let's click New and add a blank list here. And let's name this medical file attachments. There you go. You can add a description if you want, and let's click Create. Once that's done, let's add a few columns that's the data that we want to show in our list. So let's just add a few. Let's add the first name. Let's add the last name. And the phone number. All right, so once that's added, let's go ahead and click again the add column, and then below that you will see a show hide columns option here. And let's try and hide the title because we are not going to need that. We are going to need the ID and then especially the attachments. So there we go. Let's click apply. And let me just rearrange just this. Okay, great. All right. So now that we have our list, let's go and open our starter form. So if you go to your package, you will see here our starter form and just click design. So the first thing that we are going to do is to add a data connection called add attachment. So this is for the attachments to work in the submit to SharePoint list command. So to do that, let's click the data tab and then go to data connections. Let's click add. And then you have to choose the submit data option and then click next. From there, we will choose this to a web service option. Click next. And for the web service, I actually added that in the PDF file, which you just have to change your SharePoint site here for it to work. So I have a sample here that includes our site. So I already have that in my notepad, and let me just copy paste that to the web service and click next. And let's just wait for it a little bit. Okay, great. Now we are going to choose the operation named add attachment. And then click next. Click next. And then if you see this pop up, just say you want to continue. And then let's rename this to add attachment, since we are going to use this later. And click finish and click close. So the next thing that we are going to do is for the add attachment to work in our submit to SharePoint list command, we have to go to our attachment field, which is actually this. Our attachment field is called medical file. And we are going to add 2 attributes here that is necessary for the attachments to work in submitting to a list. So for us to add an attribute, let's go ahead and right click our attachment field called medical file and then click add. As you can see here, the field is called attribute. And then if you go to, again, our instructions, you will see here what field attributes to be added to that field. So let's copy paste this and add this to our medical file attachment. And then since we need 2 attributes, let's go ahead and copy this once more and click OK. So now that we've added that, we can now create a mapping. So let's go ahead and save this form. And let's call this demo. All right. Now let's try and upload this to our Forms Viewer app. Going back to my site contents, and I have here Forms Viewer app. And let me upload this template. And this is our form. Let's upload that. So for us to add a mapping, let's click the Design tab here in Forms Viewer. And in the Design tab, you will see here a SharePoint List Mappings tab. So this is where we are going to add the mapping from our form to our list. So to do that, let's enter a mapping name, and you can name this whatever you want. Let's name it Mapping Attachments. Okay. Now that we've done that, let's click this button, add top level mapping. And then at the bottom, you will see here SharePoint list dropdown. If you click that, you will see available list in that site content. So in our site contents, the only available list was a list that we just added earlier. So let's click medical file attachments. And then for this field, we are going to add the base path for our data. So if we actually click select, let's expand this and let's try to find our repeating group called medical files. So that will be our base path. So let's try to confirm that. And since this is repeating, as you can see, we can attach multiple attachments. Let's select the data is from a repeating group. And then from there, we have here the fields that we want to connect the form fields to our column lists. So let's go ahead and select our SharePoint ID. So this is actually very important if you want to submit a list. This is a requirement wherein you have to add a SharePoint ID field. And in that field, you have to have also an attribute called QRules last modified. So this is actually very important because this is where the QRules is getting its reference on what this is to be updated if you ever update the form. So yeah, so the SharePoint ID is very important in our mapping, and we are going to map that first. Let's click confirm. And in our SharePoint column, let's select the ID. So this is actually showing the lists of our medical file attachment list. As you can see the first name, the last name, and so on and so forth. So let's select here the ID, and then let's go ahead and add a new field, and let's select the attachment. So the field for our attachment is called medical file. So let's confirm that and select the attachments column in our SharePoint. So we actually also want to add the first name, the last name, and the phone details of our to the list. So one thing that you have to check is that in the structure of our sample form, if you locate the first name, the last name, and the phone details, it's actually not included in our base path, which is our medical file. So it's not included in this group. It is located outside of our base path. So for us to correctly map those fields to our list, what we are going to do is to actually get the relative expat of the first name, the last name, and the phone field. So what is the relative expat? This just means that it is the path from our root element or our base element. So for us to get the relative expat, you just have to go to the repeating group and click action. And then in the condition, you can select here the first name, and you can choose is blank. And then after you added that, click the expression. So this is just for you to get the relative expat of that field. So this is actually the relative expat of the first name. So you just have to copy paste this and add a field, copy paste that, and connect it or map it to your first name. So that's how you get the relative expat if ever your field is not under your base expat here. So let's try and do that again for our for the last name and the phone details. So let's try and delete and select the last name is blank and go back and click the expression, and we're just trying to get that relative expat here. Click last name, and let's add one more field, which is the phone. Let's delete this and select the fielder group. Let's locate that phone number. I think this is the full phone. Let's choose is blank and then select the expression and just copy paste it before that equals operator. Okay, so copy and paste that and select phone. So once you've mapped your form fields to your SharePoint columns, let's go ahead and save that. And click OK. So now we've added here a mapping to our form. So if we actually open this old form, this doesn't have any mapping attachments. And if we try to download this and reopen that form, let's go ahead and open this form. There we go. go to data just to double check. As you can see here, we already have a mapping from our form to that SharePoint list. And the last thing that we need to do is to add the submit to SharePoint list rule in our submit button. So go ahead and locate the submit button in that form and let's add a rule. So let's add a rule here and let's name this submit to list. And actually in the instructions below, I've added here the rule that you will be adding to that submit to list rule. So let's go ahead and add a set a fields value. And then for the field, let's go ahead and go to Qdabra rules and select command for the rule to be executed and then copy paste that rule. So this just actually means that we want to execute the submit to SharePoint list. The mapping is what we added earlier, which is the mapping attachments, and then the data source name, which we added a data connection earlier, which is called add attachment. And this is for the attachments to be submitted correctly to that list. So though that is mainly the rule, and let's click OK, and then resave this form. Let's save this again to our demo form. Let's overwrite that and then re-upload it once more to our demo site. Great. Let's try to open that form and let's see if it's going to submit to this list. Okay, let's type in few details and address. Let's try to add an attachment. Let's add attachment 3 and click submit. There we go. It instantly submitted to our list, and let's double check if it submitted our attachment. Again, it submitted our medical file 3 PDF, and it is displaying if we open it. So that is the power of submit to SharePoint list, and that now we can include the attachments to that command. So that's it for Lab 4.
All right, thank you, Yesha, for that demo. You did great. That's a really, I would say, a difficult lab for first-time users. So does anyone have any questions for Yesha? Now, does anyone have any comments? Like, let's try to ask someone. Maybe someone who have already tried to use the submit to SharePoint list mapping. So let's see. Caroline, have you tried this feature in Forms Viewer? The submit to SharePoint list mappings?
I just submitted a question about what are the pros and cons of submitting an attachment to a list versus a library. I have submitted attachments to a SharePoint document library, and I wonder if there's an advantage of using a list or if it's just personal preference.
Well, that's actually a good question. With submitting attachments to a SharePoint list, you can definitely use the same technique that Yesha did, create a SharePoint list mapping and use the submit to SharePoint list command. And with that technique, you can submit attachments along with other metadata in your form. Like, for example, if you have other data that you want to associate with that attachments. So that's submitting to a SharePoint list. But if you would like to submit an attachment to, for example, like a document library, we have a different technique for that, and it's called a save to SharePoint. And save to SharePoint allows you to save a file in a document library, or maybe you want to save that file in a folder within that document library. It's also possible. So we're gonna discuss save to SharePoint tomorrow, so watch out for that. Thank you for that question. So Misty says, can implement that right now. And they have a manual process. Okay, great. The technique will save a ton of stuff. Okay, yeah, great to hear that. Anyone else? Debbie, do you have any comments? You still there?
Yeah, still here. No, I don't have any comments. I think we've used this command quite a lot. And I think you guys helped us implement the attachment piece recently. So it's good to actually, I guess, see what you did as part of that and actually how we can now do that in the future.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I recently worked with Debbie, and I did add this to one of their forms. So it's awesome.
Oh, great to hear.
Yeah.
All right. That's here. I've started to use it already. Yeah. So that's the end of your labs, Yasha. And the last lab is me. But I was thinking earlier that maybe we may run out of time because it's already we've already run the training, this day one training 2.5 hours, more than 2.5 hours. So let me just share out again, Nisha. Okay. All right. So for the last lab, perhaps you can look into that later, like a take home probably. I really don't want to skip this, but I did want to mention that it's really important because we do get a lot of questions on how to configure their form library to open in Forms Viewer. So let me just quickly open the documentation for lab 5. So you got two options. So before running the lab, just ask yourself whether are you using the modern UI page or the classic UI page. So within SharePoint, you're gonna notice if you are in the classic or modern by just checking this link below here. So if it says return to classic, so that means you're in modern page. So if you click this, you're gonna be switched to the classic mode. So try to run your or do a review of your site contents and check whether you're using classic or modern, and based on that, decide which extensions you need to apply to your site. So the Forms Viewer extensions is for the modern page. So you're gonna need to install the app in the app catalog and run the steps here to install the extensions. And then the FB links, I think most of you is already familiar with this. I know I've helped Catherine set up her FB links before, and we ran into some bumps in that, right, Catherine? But we were able to solve that. So I was hoping to to show you some troubleshooting techniques and that, but just feel free to check the labs and how you can implement this by yourself. So yeah, so that's lab 5. So I'm now gonna go back to my slides here. Oh, and by the way, I'd like to mention that the issue I was encountering with my forms not opening is because when I was demoing earlier the latest features, I've selected the block third-party cookies, and I didn't selected the option back, so that's why my form is not querying. But it's not because of my internet connection, so I just realized it while Yasha was doing her demo, so it's opening now correctly for me and querying the data correctly. Yeah. Hopefully. Okay. So yeah, so please take time to check lab 5 later. So go back to my slide. So we have check your knowledge slide here. So before we end the day, we'd like to do some review questions, whether we remember some of them or hopefully you learned something from us. Okay, so the first question is, what is the purpose of Forms Designer? And it's, you provided the options there, the answer. You can just pick one or pick 2 if it fits. Emma, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, I can start off. So the purpose of Forms Designer, I would say, is all 3. So they're deprecating InfoPath, so we can't continue to use that. So Forms Designer is a solution that will replace that. From what we saw of the demo that you gave at the beginning of the class, I really think it looks like it's a lot easier to use when you're designing your form. And you referred to this earlier, retaining your form investment. Obviously, when they deprecated InfoPath, if we don't move forward to a new tool, we're going to lose a lot of our forms. So we don't have to look for a totally new solution. We can just move on to Forms Designer and continue to use our existing forms.
Wow, thank you for that. Perfect. Yeah, all 3 is the answer. Okay, so number 2, how can you access Forms Designer? So let's give this question to Tobias.
I want to say all 3 as well. I'm not sure about A, but I'm going to go with all 3, and if not, B and C.
Okay, thank you for that answer. The answer actually is B. So to access Forms Designer, you need to install Forms Beta and click the last design button. It's also showing the other design button, which is Legacy. Yeah, so in order to access Forms Designer, you need to install Forms Beta. So yeah, thank you. All right, so move on to the next slide. And how can you add the dynamic XTP into your form? Okay. We're missing Joe now and Scott. Okay. Nicole, would you like to answer that?
A. Add it in InfoPath by injecting the XTP.
Thank you. And yeah, we can definitely use InfoPath. Although in lab 2, we also showed you how you can inject the dynamic XTP using Forms Designer. So we've added that as a built-in XTP. And yeah, so you can do either A or B, but definitely not C because you don't need to run code to inject the XTP.
I think sometimes Emma and I run into some trouble because we are on-prem. And sometimes some of the stuff that you guys show, we're not able to do. We run into issues. Yeah, and we can't even have beta because we're not online.
I see, okay. Well, we're getting the Forms beta ready for on-prem users. So I'm going to check with our lead developer, James Rich, when it's going to be available. But I know it's going to be available soon. So for the form, for the issues that you've encountered, feel free to send me an email, and I will assist you and Emma. And if not, feel free to send your questions to support@qdabra.com, and someone else will assist you.
Great, thanks.
All right, but I was really curious what was the issue, and yeah. Anyway, all right. So next is, how can you get user information and display in your form? So this is the lab that Yesha demoed. Alex, would you like to answer that?
Sorry about that, I was muted. I'm a little bit behind here, so could you explain it for me?
Oh, so the question is about how you can get user information, like your current information. If you have an account in SharePoint, it will normally be in a profile store or the site users list, and we query that. And Yesha just showed you how to display the first name, the last name, and even your manager name when you load your form. So maybe you can choose one answer there that you think applies.
I thought it was C, right?
Yeah.
Get user profile by name command by the user parameter. Yep.
Yeah, correct. So Yasha used the get user profile by name, and you can either use B or C, because the get user profile by name queries the user profiles and the site users list. And you can, if you're not querying your current user or the currently logged in user, you can also opt to query other user data by using the user parameter there. But we're not doing A because we're not directly querying from the site users list, but we're telling QROs to query the data for us. Yeah. So that's next. Okay, last is, you would like to submit attachments to a list. What are some ways in which Forms Viewer can help? Not sure who else have not been called. Catherine, you'd like to answer that?
Yeah, so you showed us, I think, B, but you can also do C.
It's really fast. Yeah, definitely not with Power Automate. But yeah, so B and C. Because Forms Viewer has a built-in mapping feature, and that's in the legacy, the design legacy button that Yasha showed. And then Forms Viewer supports submit to SharePoint list command. So you design your form together with the mapping and the submit to SharePoint list command, and then you can submit attachments to a list. Yeah, great. All right, so that's the list of questions. So lastly, we'd like to assure you that we're here to help. If you need help in planning your future projects using Qdabra forms, let us know, and yeah, we'll help you plan your projects. And if you run into issues like Nicole just raised, feel free to let us know. Our team is always ready to assist you. And we have also our different channels for in our YouTube account. So we have weekly webinars, tutorials, and we upload all our training videos there. So watch out for that. We're going to upload a recording in our YouTube channel later. And then if you'd like also to join our InfoPlat community, we have our InfoPlat dev site. If you'd like to check that site, we have like a lot of posts there, questions about InfoPath. Yeah, so those are ways we help our customers. So thank you. Thanks again for being here and staying in day one. Day two preview. So for day two, we're gonna talk about the top 5 useful, easy to add features. So watch out for day two. We're gonna talk about validation, how to validate your data correctly, and then we'll talk about save to SharePoint. Like I mentioned to Caroline, we have a command for saving files to SharePoint, and hopefully we're going to use an XTP for that, so you can easily add that to your form. And then we're going to use we're going to show you the glass pad for signatures that Yesha showed you in the patient consent form. And then lastly, the Authy XTP and DBXL XTP. Hopefully we'll be able to complete all 5 labs tomorrow. So again, thank you everyone. Hopefully you learned something from us, but definitely want to get your feedback if you run into any issues in the documentation, or especially when you discovered something that you've applied in your form, like your own innovations. Feel free to share that with us, and maybe we'll also learn something from you. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.